Hello, everyone, and welcome into School Talk on 98.5 WJHI, LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network, also here on TV Cable 184. With you today on October the 12th, joining us on School Talk is Mr. Mark Laughner, our superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools. How are we doing today, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me back.
It's great to have you back in over the fall break here. Looking forward to some of the things coming up around the corner. Obviously, football sectionals about to be here, and then we also have basketball coming around the corner as well. But I wanted to start off with the first 9 weeks and just a little bit of a recap of how everything went. I know when we started off towards the beginning of the school year on July 28th, we did a school talk around that time, and I know a billion things have changed since that point. But if I would have said back on July 28th when school started, you would be at this point here making it through the first 9 weeks with all that's happened. Are you satisfied with the results? And just give me a brief overview, I should say, of how the first 9 weeks went.
Oh, I think the first 9 weeks is going really well. A lot of speculation out there at the start of the year that we wouldn't stay in school for more than 2 weeks or a month. And really, what has gone on this first 9 weeks has been better than we expected. Our principals, our teachers, the students, our parents have all been cooperative in wearing masks, making sure they're following the protocols and policies and procedures. And so we're thrilled that we're at this point. We've had some bumps in the road in terms of having to quarantine, a lot of kids at certain times, having to quarantine some staff. We've had a few positive cases. I will tell you, when we've had to close down a couple of schools, it's been because of the quarantining, not so much as the positive cases within the school. And that's probably been the biggest situation that we've dealt with is just when you get a positive case, how many staff have to be quarantined, how many kids have to be quarantined, can you staff that building? And if you can't, then you have to go on e-learning for a week. And really, I'm very glad that we created the calendar we did to have these breaks built in. As you know, we're seeing an uptick in cases throughout Indiana and really throughout the country. And to be doing e-learning right now for this 2 week period, I think is a good thing for us, and what we have set up for the rest of the semester in terms of, after this week of e-learning, we come back and do 2 weeks of in-person instruction. Then that first week of November, we have election day on November 3rd where there's no e-learning, no school that day. Our teachers have professional development in the morning, and then they have a parent-teacher conference, the rest of the afternoon and evening. And then we do 2 weeks after that, and then we get the Thanksgiving break, and we're essentially done with in-person instruction at that point. So we're happy with the way things are going and hope that they continue this way through the rest of this first semester.
For you, I know you just went over the second 9 week schedule, and basically looking at the whole schedule, just to kind of brief it down, is everything ends by Thanksgiving. You have the month off for December to try to line up, obviously, and make sure everybody's healthy and good to go for semester 2. Do you have a time or a plan on when to make your second semester calendar? How does that process work for you? Is it fluid, or what's the process for the second semester schedule?
Well, when we initially created the first semester calendar, we said that we would make a decision on the second semester by December 1st. We are going to take the second semester calendar to the board on October 27th, that second meeting in October. We've discussed the calendar with the association, the Teachers Association. As a cabinet, we've looked at various scenarios. So we'll bring that second semester calendar to that second meeting in October 27th, for the board to vote on, and then get it out there to the community so that everybody knows what we're doing, at least has a couple of months to make any changes they need to make for that second semester. I will tell you, because things have gone pretty well this first semester, we're really trying to get that second semester back to somewhat of a normal calendar, or schedule. We'll have a few days built in probably in terms of e-learning and professional development for our teachers to do e-learning, virtual learning, professional development, and also to check in with their virtual students. But I don't know that we'll have as many e-learning days as what we've had this first semester. I will tell you that.
For you, when you look at the first 9 weeks and being able to go pretty much all the way through, just one hiccup, I think, for Jeffersonville, and as you said, looking back at it, not a issue of COVID cases, just when you have so many people quarantined, staff bodies you're trying to keep up with for so many people, everything's gone quite smoothly for Greater Clark County schools. With the e-learning side of things, I know we have a lot of students online either doing the virtual academy or doing the My School. It's certainly something that is taken up a lot of time for teachers and students to stay on top of. What have been your thoughts thus far on e-learning, how it's going, and how you'd like to improve it for going forward, not just for this year, but I know you have plans further down the road for e-learning as being a part of Greater Clark County schools for years to come.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I think it's going really well. Since we had done it the year before this started, our teachers were somewhat prepared for it. We've done even more professional development with it during this first 9 weeks, which has really allowed our teachers to really grow in that area and learn from each other. And they're doing a fantastic job. Now, it's a challenge. Our teachers are working really hard. Some of them are having to do both in-person instruction and also virtual instruction, and that's a big challenge for them. Very taxing, very stressful. And that's one of the reasons we build in some of these time breaks, e-learning breaks, is so that teachers can get caught up. They can also reach out to their virtual learners and make sure that they're staying on track. That was a big concern of ours this first semester, this first 9 weeks, is, our virtual learners staying on track, earning their credits, passing their classes, and we wanted to make sure that we had time built in for our teachers to reach out to those students and their parents and make sure that those students are engaged, and doing the work and passing their classes so they can get their credits and graduate.
For students, as you talked about, trying to graduate and get through this year, and you look at grading and how things go, I know for Greater Clark, obviously you all have high standards for where you want the grading to be at, and I know we touched on before that e-learning was going to be more strenuous this year, and it has. From a grading standpoint, how much from a decision-making standpoint from you and the school board and other administrators do you have to follow from the state guidelines compared to your own guidelines? I get that question a lot from other teachers and parents that when they see grading and how it works with e-learning and all that's going on through the pandemic, how much is that from your all side of things and how much do you have to take from the state?
Well, as far as time requirements, seat time, I guess you would call it, the state has requirements on that, for the elementary level, middle school level, high school level. And we obviously try to meet that requirement. By state statute, we have to. So that's a state level thing. And now as far as grading practices, we have our own grading and assessment handbook that we ask our schools to follow. When you look at what is an assessment versus an assignment, how does that break down in terms of the grade? Now, that's something we're working on and we'll work on in the future in terms of assessments and grading and just what that looks like. But that's something for down the road. But one of the things we've asked our teachers and our schools to do is, have a little flexibility. This is a tough situation for everyone. In this situation, we can't be as rigid, as we have in the past in terms of grades and maybe students turning things in. And I think our teachers have done a real good job of that. I mean, they've maintained a high expectation with our students in terms of, hey, there are timelines you have to meet, you have to turn things in, but they've also worked with students and parents really well in terms of if there's a situation that pops up and they need to work with the student and allow that student to take care of some things, they've allowed them to do it. So I think our staff, our administrators, our teachers are doing really well with that and being flexible as they can while still having a high expectation.
Here with Mark Laughner on October 12th here with School Talk. Joining you on WJHI, our superintendent, Mark Laughner. I know something for you that besides the academic and educational process of the pandemic, another labor of love has been the football fields, along with Jeffersonville and Charlestown High School. I saw you out at Jeff High for their opening game. I know you've been out to Charlestown. Is it, now that it's all done, does it feel worth it? Everything well to go? I know from a stadium standpoint and from our perspective working in media, it's phenomenal. Everything that's been upgraded, the view, the whole amenities side of things. But for you, is everything up to what you hoped it would be? And are you excited now that everything seems to be about done and teams are able to be out there and ready to go and compete?
Absolutely. I was thrilled to be at the game the other night when Jeff played Madison. It was a great night. And the environment was just different, with the new field, the new track, the new bleachers, press box. It just had a different feel to it. And I think everyone felt that. And I think, our community deserves that. Our kids deserve that. They need to, they should have a nice place to play. And same thing up at Charlestown, and then the same thing at New Wash with their new basketball floor and bleachers up there. Our communities deserve to have nice things, I believe. And as I've said all along, it's something that is, whether we like it or not, that's what's, going on in the state of Indiana with open enrollment, with kids being able to choose where they can go to school. Parents look at facilities, they look at what's going on in the school academically, and they make choices based on that. And like I said, whether we like it or not, a lot of parents drive around schools when they're looking for a school to send their child to, and they look at the facilities, and the facilities play, a big role in, where they send their child. And that's just the way it is, whether we like it or not. So that's something, I feel very strongly about, that it's something we needed to do as a district. It looks great, and I think it'll be a great thing for our community and our kids.
You just touched on enrollment in the state of Indiana. I'm sure for this year, for your all side of things as administrators, probably been the toughest year to track enrollment, with everybody going from in-person to online. Then obviously you have students transferring over from this side of the river, from Kentucky to Indiana. How have the enrollment numbers held up? I know at some points it was higher, some points it was lower. Being through the first 9 weeks, is everything around where you would think it'd be on enrollment numbers? How has that gone for you all on the administrative side of things?
Oh, great. We just had the state count, ADM count, and our enrollment in Greater Clark is actually up about 160 students, which is fantastic. I've talked to other local superintendents in this area, and their enrollments have gone down. So for us to be up, we're excited about that from the standpoint of not only being appealing to people out there in southern Indiana, that Greater Clark is a great place to send their child to school, but also, financially, the bottom line, that helps your bottom line financially in terms of, the dollars follow the student, and when you get more students, that helps our budget. So we're happy. I do believe, one of the reasons that our enrollment is up and others aren't, is that, we had a good plan in place to start school. We started on time. It's gone well, and I think, I think parents were ready to send their kids back to school, on July 29th, and we had a plan in place, and we were ready to go with that, and I think that did help our enrollment, and I think we've proven that, we're going to do everything we can to keep our students safe and our staff safe and everybody involved in our school community.
For you, I know pride's obviously a big thing on how the job is done and how students and staff interact and execute from a day-to-day basis. How much pride does it provide you as a superintendent when you mentioned talking to local superintendents around the area? Not many school systems open 5 days a week, especially from the start if we go back to late July, and now you're still being able to open and go 5 days a week in person. We have some schools that aren't even in person yet, others that are going 2 days a week. I'm sure you have to be happy with how things have gone from that standpoint. That's something I know from a planning that's worked out well, but you have to be, I would think, from a certain sense, with all the craziness that's going on, pretty proud of how the 5 days has worked out, going with the full schedule. Not many people able to complete at that level, even at this point as we're in mid-October.
Oh, absolutely. I think, we all like routines, whether we believe it or not. I mean, whether you're a student, a staff member, a superintendent, we like the routine, and I think 5 days a week, to have that as an option for our students and create that routine for them and their parents was very important. And so the fact that we gave our parents and students options in terms of in-person versus the virtual academy at the high school level was key. But I think it was just really important academically to have a calendar where we could provide our students in-person instruction 5 days a week. And I think that will pay off for our students, in terms of not having any critical loss in terms of learning. And it's been good. I mean, I think I think we'll see the benefit of that, as we head into the spring and at the end of the year.
And we'll talk about that here for a second as we look into the winter. Obviously, we being in Southern Indiana, it's a big basketball area, and everybody's going to be keeping their eyes on the sports schedule for boys and girls basketball. I know Chad Gilbert, a close friend of yours in administration, the Charlestown Athletic Director, working with the IHAA. We've been able to get through the football season pretty well and smooth, no issues there. Is everything on schedule for basketball and all the winter sports that are coming up around the corner? What have you heard from that side?
Yes, I think we're still moving forward. I think, seating will still probably be somewhat limited capacity-wise, especially as we move through the flu season when you get into December, January, February. So we'll monitor that piece real closely. But I anticipate things moving forward as far as winter sports, and that we'll have a basketball season, swim season, and wrestling, and we'll keep moving forward, and just we'll monitor it and work the way we have been, and and work with the health department on those issues. We're still in constant communication with them, and just keep moving forward, and if there's something that we need to address, we will.
Last thing I'll ask you here on School Talk October the 12th. When we look ahead to second semester, obviously I know a lot of things are going to change over here from October, November, and December as we head into the new year. If we look at both sides of things from your standpoint, what are some concerns that maybe pop up on your mind in second semester, and maybe what are some advantages as we go in semester two, things that maybe you haven't been able to take advantage of, with the pandemic? Hopefully things get better through the next few months. What are some of your key points that are on your mind to plan and prepare for semester two?
Well, my biggest worry right now, to be honest with you, is, in talking to our director of health services, Teresa Stingle, is, when the flu season comes, and typically in Greater Clark, the flu season hits us in January, February as far as attendance. That's when our attendance drops. And I'm real worried about that in terms of attendance and, how many students and staff have to be quarantined. Just because of the regular flu versus the coronavirus, so that's a big worry right now. The other thing I'm really worried about is making sure our students stay engaged with their learning, whether they're in person or virtual, because we want, especially our high school students, to stay on track to graduate. They got to earn their credits, they got to pass their classes. They got to pass those required classes to graduate, and so we want to make sure that they stay on track. And we're, our staff, our principals, our teachers are working really hard to make sure they do stay on track. But I am worried about that because it's easy for high school students sort of go down a different path and get off track and not pay attention to what they need to be paying attention to, and so we need to stay focused on that.
Well, Mr. Laughner, appreciate you coming in here today. I know it's been a hectic first 9 weeks, but made it through and everything's good to go. I appreciate you joining us and enjoy the rest of your fall break. I know it's not really a fall break for you as you're pretty much on call 24/7, but enjoy the most of it you can, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Mark Laughner, our superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools, here on School Talk, October the 12th. Live on TV Cable 184 and also on radio at 98.5 FM. If you'd like to watch the replay of this show, you can watch on TV Cable 184. Every episode replaying at 1 and 7 p.m. every day on Cable 184 and also on YouTube, uploaded later on the Red Devil Network. And if you'd like to listen, it'll be at 1 and 7 p.m. as well on 98.5 FM and streaming on WJHI.com. For Mark Laughner, I'm Clay Abel saying so long here for School Talk on 98.5 WJHI, LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network.